So good morning, friends, um, and enemies. Anybody, good morning. Um, it's here in Bodh Gaya, India. So this is like the place where the Buddha got his enlightenment. And just waking up here in the morning, about 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And recently I did a podcast with a young, funny man in LA named Matan Evan. And this morning, I'll just be listening to that podcast, watching over it, and having some tea. This video quite popular, a lot more popular than my videos. It's been a few hours and already maybe 20,000 views. And I've been going through some of the comments and getting some encouragement and feedback about my talk there and how I acted. And I think that we likely some new people will be coming to check out this channel and learn more about me and what I'm doing online because the young man Matan was kind enough to uh, put some of the links for my YouTube and the places that I share online. So some more people might be coming, and a lot of my teachings can be quite intense and kind of hard hitting, and just open the space a little bit where we can be mindful together and just be in this moment and be waking up. In a certain sense, uh, we have to wake up throughout the day. It's not just in the morning when we feel, oh, I'm tired and maybe the day has difficulty or I feel suffering, but I have to give up. But it's like our whole day, we're going through that in different ways. So uh, it's a good chance to wake up together, to come into awareness. And I wanted to share just a quick teaching before I start to play this podcast and start to make some delicious tea that um, it can be quite difficult to know what to do when we wake up or to feel the motivation when waking up. And I think we all have our own little peculiar things that we might do. Maybe we like to exercise. Maybe we need to have a coffee or a cappuccino. Some people even need to have a cigarette, although I don't recommend that. But once we kind of get ourselves together, it's really nice to have the motivation and the intention, not just to do for ourselves, but actually that this life, this body, this mind is kind of a part of a bigger picture, that it's for everyone. And that gives us the kind of inspiration to do good deeds, to wake up and start doing good deeds. And for sure, as the day goes by, we will have to wake up again and again and again. We'll kind of fall into that sleep and that slumber of our, we get frustrated or we have too much greed, we overeat, and we have a stomach ache. Or we just get caught up in thoughts that aren't really helping us or helping others live a peaceful, happy life, and using this life for the benefit of others. And for those people who may be coming across the channel and Buddhism for the first time, uh, what I want to say is that Buddhism is very, very deep, very, very profound, as analytical, as philosophical, as complicated as anything could be. Buddhism can be that. But Buddhism is also just having the chance to recognize that our life is just right here, and that being at peace with what is just right here is one of the most important things that we can do in our entire lives. So, welcome. Happy to have you here. And as always, my heart is open, my hand is extended, my body is offered, my body and mind are offered to help anyone who needs help. You can reach out to me directly, you can let me know, ask questions. we can set up time for a call, have a consultation, or talk about what you're going through, and I'm happy to share and try to help a little bit. Okay, so namaste and welcome. I'm going to start making some tea and turn on this podcast that I did with the funny man, Matan Evan. Actually, he's a young man. He's just 17 years old, and it was a really wonderful experience to do the podcast with him. And the context of the podcast is that Matan is like a funny man and a trickster. And then the title of the video is a 17-year-old versus a rabbi and a monk in a heated debate. It did get a little bit heated, but not so much from my side. And it's a little bit playful as well. So it'll be nice to listen to.
And what do you do right now with your thing? Because you're Brazilian, you're representing Brazil here, so.
I'm representing Brazil, and I'm.
Are you Brazilian?
I'm not even Brazilian.
Oh, so I guess my research wasn't so well with you.
No, everyone thinks I'm Brazilian, but not.
So where are you from?
I'm from Venezuela.
Oh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's beside Brazil.
Oh, close by?
It's like beside. It's like Brazil. Like,
Is it connected?
like,
So physically connected.
touching each other.
And would you consider yourself a professional religious speaker? Like these two? So what can tell you to come to a religious debate?
I don't know. I mean, I was brought here, and I got the invitation, and I'm here.
Or you're just saying that you kind of just been told to come here and then you showed up?
Showed up.
Had you ever met him or him before this?
I don't know anybody.
Oh, really? You didn't meet the moderator outside?
That's the moderator?
Yeah.
Oh, nice to meet you. Yeah, I make music.
You make music?
Yeah, dale mamá con tu tacata. Isso tudo bem. Bye.
Wait, can we get...
I was kind of asking myself, like, if this was the right move.
What would you want to say?
I'm saying we're having a conversation. I'm trying to say, what is the truth? We're trying to figure out what is... If there's a creator, and I think everyone here agrees there's a creator, there must be a creator to this universe. What does he want us to do? And he's saying, oh, it doesn't matter about beliefs. Obviously, beliefs matter.
Well, can I ask two
How do you
questions?
answer the question?
Can I ask two questions here?
Yeah.
First, we'll start off with a quick one. What did you think about what he said?
He's a good rapper, Nash. I like your rapping skills. And I like your outfits.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
I like your style.
Thanks, man.
Very clean.
Thanks.
You know?
Appreciate it.
Not a lot of people know how to dress clean.
Thanks. You too.
And then finish what you were saying. I apologize about that.
I'm just saying, want to know if God exists. How do you know Christianity is? Maybe those are from God.
Yeah, that's actually
How
a
do you
good
know-
question.
how
I
do you
wanted to
know
ask.
Judaism
How do you know that Judaism has the evidence from God according to you, but you don't think that Christianity is correct, even though they believe they have the evidence from God? And Muslim people think they have it. So how do you know that you're right and they're all wrong?
Okay, so again,
You can, because in this one, you can't just use the same argument you've been using against
so
him.
beautiful, great question.
So it will
Because-
become more interesting.
Again, I'll say for Buddhism, even in the book, in Indisputable Truth, we talked about Buddhism.
In your book,
Yeah, we have a section on it, and Buddhism really is it's just it's a nice, teachings, but there's no really truth to it in the sense of, obviously, be generous, that's obvious, that the Torah says that, the Bible says that, that's not anything new. I'm saying in the sense of, like, are you doing what the creative universe wants for you? Maybe the creative universe doesn't want you to meditate in the mountain.
Okay, so this is one point we can kind of emphasize, and that is that things may be obvious, but unless we do those things, it's not going to do us any good, right? And you could take that for something as like literal and as fundamental as eating or drinking water. Yeah, it's kind of obvious. We're thirsty. We need to drink some water. We're hungry. Have to have some food to eat to nourish the body. And so we can say the same about a lot of spiritual teachings or like advice from somebody like me or some, yogi or monk or what have you. These things can sound very obvious, but it's about putting them into practice that you get the realization of the effectiveness of doing that or not. And just like when it comes to exercising or learning a new skill or studying something, it takes time. And in the midst of that appearance of time that it takes, there's going to be difficulty and there's going to be ups and downs. But we learn if something is reliable and if something is useful by putting it into practice seriously. So generosity may be obvious, but what is it like when you practice it? Being a virtuous, like really prioritizing in your mind to be good and taking that as one of the most important things in your mind to be good and even to be mindful, right? To be aware, to come back to that awareness within yourself, an awareness of just this moment as it is. So thinking about it is one thing, believing in it is one thing, but putting it into practice is really what this life is all about.
There. Maybe he wants you to, do other stuff, be involved with the world, get people to be more moral. Look at them. Look
But
at
how
the
do you know
world.
that that's...
What if that's his calling, though?
Yeah,
How can you argue that?
he's not saying to do that. He's saying be generous, be good. But I'm just saying, from what I know about Buddhism, Buddhism's more about going to the mountain, running away from suffering, running away from the problems, and just being to yourself.
Is that true?
Well, like I said, you cannot run away from yourself, and that's kind of what goes along with the money. Like, even if someone gave you $1 million, you would still have to deal with yourself. And what most everyone has been trained to do up to this point is like try to have more pleasurable experiences on Netflix or Uber Eats or whatever video game. It's not like that's bad. Just do it in a wholesome way. Don't do it in an evil way.
But what's good and evil? Where are you getting your definition? What's good? What's evil? Like,
What's good?
You said be generous. If I give $1 million to the Nazis during the time of the Holocaust, is that generous?
Well, we have to be practical because mostly we're on our own. So if we're using definitions from like outside about what is good and what's bad, it's not going to help us
You're saying
much.
rely on what you think is good and bad.
No, you learn through your experience. If what you're doing is good, it reduces suffering in people, it brings benefit to yourself and others in the logical way. It's not like you I don't believe in any religion that says, hey, wait a minute, you have to be like a fool now. And then you have to start believing in this. Like, use your common sense. Not everybody is Hitler. Not most people aren't evil people. We are natural to be good. We're natural to help each other. We're natural to listen. We're natural to have empathy. If our dear friend feels happiness, wow, we feel happiness too. If our dear friend feels a lot of suffering in themselves, we feel that too. And so doing good means that we're trying to help and be good. And goodness is not this shallow term, right? And it's like we minimize virtue, we minimize generosity, we minimize being a good person and doing good deeds, when that's one of the most beneficial things that we can do in our entire lives. It's like everybody says, okay, I've got to work at McDonald's, I've got to work at Walmart so that I can have a horrible apartment somewhere. Well, what is so great about that? And then you identify with some religion in particular. But what's a lot better than that, is being a good person, doing good deeds, generating happiness, generating goodness within yourself.
But again, if someone feels good, and that takes away the suffering of, for example, like, being mean to other people. So then you say, okay.
That's not goodness, because I just explained that.
Yeah.
If you're doing something good and it's harming someone or it's about harming someone, then that's not good.
Who made that definition of being good?
Who made the definition of this napkin? It is what it is. You can give it all kinds of definitions, but it is what it is already.
A napkin is an object. It has a purpose. We're talking about theoretical things right now. We're talking about,
in what world was the purpose of this napkin that was not known to exist on this white table before? In what world was this purpose for this napkin to become a snowflower? How can you imagine like that? This is an expression of cause and effect. Right? So how did this napkin become a snowflower? Because it was created or made for this purpose? It's a cause and effect.
The designer created for whatever purpose he made it for, yeah. But you're saying what's good, what's bad. I'm saying be generous, be virtue. I'm saying that. But I'm just saying is because you're saying that Buddhism is really man-made religion. Do you agree to that?
Well,
Teachings are
there's no such
man-made.
thing as man-made because there's no such thing as a man separate from a woman.
I mean, okay, fine. I'm sorry. That's not obviously. I'm not trying to be a thing.
Did
Is man or
did
woman
Buddhism come from everything? Well,
made?
yeah.
No, it came from a human being. Siddhartha
But a human
Gautama.
being doesn't come from nothing. A human being also comes from everything.
What does
A
that mean
human
come from
being is a continuation and a part of everything.
What does that mean?
It's
I
like
think what I not just to I think what he's saying is that you're saying that Buddhism is a man-made religion, but I think what he's saying is that hypothetically, according to you, if a human is not man-made, then neither is the religion. He's saying it's just cause and effect. Like if human is not man-made, then them creating something is not man-made. It's just creation of the thing they created. It's all. I think he's saying it's all kind of a thing together. Now he's meditating.
In
I don't
Buddhism,
know. He just
we
went to sleep
believe-
for a second.
no. Hey, wait a minute. I want to say this because
Sorry, I
actually
didn't
we
mean
can
to interrupt you.
no because actually we can go deep into ourselves with awareness and with kindness and with presence when we close our eyes. So it's not just about going to sleep or
Oh,
like
you
being
weren't
dull.
sleeping?
No. I was bright and aware.
I thought you were taking power now.
No, power meditation. Power self-reflection. Turn the mind to examine itself at this present moment. And then you get a lot of
Have you ever
energy
tried
from
that?
that. That's a matter of cause and
Oh,
effect.
you've tried power naps?
Oh, I love power naps.
Do you
But I'm
take
saying,
power
do you
naps?
agree? Do you agree?
Oh, no.
Do you agree?
Sometimes
Siddhartha,
it happens naturally.
do you agree? Siddhartha Gautama is the one who established Buddhism. Who started it? Do you agree to that or no?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
He started it. Who's the founder of this cult or religion, whatever we like to call it?
Well,
Siddhartha Gautama.
You're claiming it's a cult?
I mean, it's not really religion because there's no belief, there's no really connection to God. It has nothing to do with God. But okay, whatever you want to call it. I don't know the definition.
You threw like a little bit of salt at him.
also
No,
that,
no,
I'm just saying.
Okay, you could call it a religion. I'm just saying, is it created by him? He's the one who experienced nirvana, and he's the one who taught the teachings of the Buddha. That's Buddhism? No, that's man-made. That's coming from a human being.
everything. Everything, constriction around one idea, one topic, one sensation in the body, or one, experience in your life. Use the word everything.
What is it?
Brighten out the mind. It's a practice rather than thinking about things. The more that you think about things, the better you will be at thinking about things. The more you practice doing good deeds, the more you practice
That's
generosity.
going around the question.
There's no going around. There's just this moment. It's like someone has a stroke after you ask them a question. And then you say, you're trying to get out of this. Well, no, they're not. They had a stroke. Everything is changing each and every moment. So you have to go with the flow. And you can't go back and say,
So forget history,
it means
forget the future.
it means you can't go back and say, wait a minute, it's already happening now. It's happening now again and again and again and again. And it's not about being respected or disrespected or that this is absolutely right or this is absolutely wrong. It's just that certain things work and certain things don't. That's it.
Again, but there's no evidence, no scientific evidence, no logical evidence for Buddhism being divine.
Well, what is divine? Why do
Divine
things
means-
happen? Why do things have to be divine?
Because
Why
there's
can't
obviously
life
a creator,
just be-
infinite creator to the universe.
Why
and he
can't-
didn't create the universe for no reason? There must be a purpose.
Well, I think that's a lot of people have that idea, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that everyone has to have that idea. It's
What do you
just
mean?
like
If there's a creator, what do you mean? Oh, one person believes in God, one person doesn't believe in God. No, if there's a God, there's a God, and the atheist is wrong. And if there's no God, the believer is wrong.
well, what I'm saying though is that just because one person believes in something or focuses on something in particular, that's up to them.
You're right, that's up to them. But if you're bringing evidence for being a God, that means that applies to everybody. If there's a God, there's a God.
No. Buddhism, no.
But I'm
Buddhism
just
is
saying
not
that the
like
religion
faith.
doesn't have any. The religion
You're a religious guy?
the religion doesn't have any substance. There's no substance to it. It's just nice teachings that
What is-
anybody could have came up with and said, yeah, be a good person. That's obvious. That's common sense. That's logic. I'm talking about there's a creator. He gave a document to humanity. For example, I could give you proofs and scientific evidence that there's no way the Torah is made by human beings. And I could go through Christianity, Islam, and obviously, I'm not saying Christian Muslims are bad, God forbid. I'm just saying, though, as a Jew, I could show you that there's no way they're making the claim that the religion is from God, that these religions can't be. For example, Christianity. Christianity makes the claim that,
Well, real quick, before you go on,
Yeah.
I tried to get a Christian guy here
yeah,
to debate, but I didn't get one. So I don't want you to just start, test his saying why you don't think it can be real for this or that one. I don't have somebody here to get you on it.
Okay, so I'll talk about Judaism. How about that?
Well, let's stick with Judaism and the Buddhism, and then whatever is Venezuelan or whatever that one is.
Okay, so I'll give you a nice proof for Judaism, right? It says in the Torah that it talks about the Torah in Leviticus and Vayikra.
What does it say?
It says that there's one animal in the world that has only split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. The Torah says this is the animal.
Okay.
Every other animal that has chew cuds and split hooves, right? Chews, whatever that split hooves means, completely split hooves, not like a horse hooves, whatever.
That on the leg?
Yeah,
Foot?
on the foot.
Okay.
And then whatever chews its cud. So a cow would be kosher. Those are kosher animals that have those two signs: split hoof and chews its cud.
Oh, you're talking
So a
about-
cow.
Okay, take a restroom break.
Sure.
I'll be right back.
Let's continue. You finish what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
said.
yeah. So Judaism. So what I'm saying is that, in order to eat kosher, right, you have to have the two signs: split hoof and chews. The Torah says, but be careful. There's one animal that only has split hoof but doesn't chew its cud. And this is the only animal in the world that has that. And this was written 3,300 years ago in the Torah. You can see it in the book of Leviticus, Vayikra. And to this day, this is written thousands and thousands of years ago. To this day, we never found an animal besides a pig. The Torah said the pig is the only animal. Besides for a pig that has split hooves, it doesn't chew its cud.
Okay.
So I have a question. If human beings writing the Torah, why would they ever come make
Oh,
you
you're
write
saying
something?
that that's proof because it came true?
No, not that it can. What I'm saying is that if a human being, if I'm trying to make up a new religion, right, I'm not going to write something that one day someone's going to bring an animal besides a pig that has split hooves and doesn't chew its cud, and they're going to show you, wow, see, look, this just disprove your religion. The person who wrote the Torah, if it's a person, quote unquote, obviously it's from God, only a divine.
Yeah, right now I'm watching the video of the interview I did with Matan Evan, semi-debate with a rabbi, which certainly wasn't very well prepared for, which is a ongoing story in my life. But so I'm watching that and reviewing it, and also just opening up the live stream so that anyone who's coming across the channel new from this debate, and just anyone who's a part of this moment, can enjoy some morning tea, some waking up, and some mindfulness. And also to ask any questions. This is always an open space for people to give and to get, to share, to ask questions and anything like that. So please feel welcome, everybody.
Only the being who created all the animals in the world knows that this is the only animal in the world that has split hooves and doesn't chew its cud. I'll give you another example.
No, let's let the monk come back in.
Wait, before you come, I'm just saying another similar example.
Because listen, I can argue you both ways. I can be contrarian,
Yeah.
agree with you, but I don't want to get involved in the debate. I just want to moderate here.
He's not really, he's a great guy and everything, but he's not really like bringing any evidence.
Yeah, appearances, that's a classic kind of wisdom saying, right? That appearances can be deceiving. And very often appearances are deceiving. So I try to navigate my life, and it's very difficult, but it's a kind of a practice, in a way that's not based on appearances, but more based on my intention to be kind, or my intention to care, or my intention to help. And then however the situation is, whether like the way that I perceive it is true or not, kindness is always useful and valuable and works. It's like I'm never going to feel bad looking back on being kind, or being generous, or being considerate, or being playful with kindness, right? Kind playfulness. So maybe when we get to that point in the video, I'll be able to see it. But yeah, feel free, everyone, to say hello, to ask any questions.
But you're not bringing evidence either. I mean,
I'm bringing truth. What do you mean? I just gave you evidence.
Well,
of the
that-
way
well-
the Torah can be written, right? Even that's
well,
one out of many proofs.
it's like it can be seen as evidence, but he might not see that as evidence.
I know, but I don't know if
He might decide that his evidence to him is more valuable.
But he
than
doesn't.
yours.
He's not even claiming to have any evidence. Buddhism has no
Well,
evidence.
you have to say that to him. You can't argue with me about that.
I know. I said it for the past hour. He wasn't. I don't know. He just kept going around the question. Not in a bad way. I'm just saying. Like,
You think he was ducking your question?
I mean, he just wasn't answering it.
Well, let's when he comes back, let's let him answer. And what do you think? Because you're I don't forget where you're from. You're from somewhere.
Beside Brazil.
Just talk. It'll pick up on you.
Beside Brazil.
And over there, it's you guys have food over there, water.
For some point in time, we didn't, cause the government, they have their issues.
Oh, no good.
No good, but it's getting better. So now we have food and water.
Did you want to take a sip of that?
Do you have water actually?
Yeah, for me. But for
Oh.
you, it's diet root beer, no zero sugar,
Shit.
W.
Nah, I'm good. Thank you.
No, but it's 0 calories.
No, I'm very careful what I put in my body.
What does that mean?
Like I got a diet.
You have a diet?
Yeah.
That's not part of it.
No, that's not part of the diet.
He's back. Well, let's update him on your statement against him. Who do you like more, him or him? The fit, the clothing.
Yeah, that's
Depends on what metrics you're using.
I like the.
Okay, we have a few questions on the live chat that I'm just checking into now. And we are watching or listening to the recent podcast I did with funny young man named Matan Evan. Did anything about Matan surprise you? He's really nice guy, really smart young man, and he was just very respectful and considerate. And I was just surprised by his care, his consideration about doing the interview. Because as a monk, there's maybe things that I would be personally open to go into and like bring my practice to that space and to that environment, but I wouldn't be able to do that because I can't like take the role of a monk into that environment unless I'm really super mindful and like super know what I'm doing. And I've just been a monk for 6 years, so I have to go into environments that have some degree of like respectfulness and consideration and care for the robes and for what it means to be a monk, especially if it's for like a public stage, right? A public audience. Matan's just when he's doing his talk show or whatever, is just he's performing, and then off stage he's just generally a very funny guy. What are my thoughts on European pagans? I'll be honest, I don't think much about European pagans. This may be the first time that I've thought about European pagans in the past year. So I don't think much about that. I think for any religion or tradition or way of life that you follow, as long as that's bringing benefit to yourself and to people that are around you, well, clearly that's good, and helping you to be a good person. And we can explore, and also to have an open mind. I think that's the other good sign, because if it's just helping you to be a quote unquote good person, but there's not much of an open mind behind that or with that, there may be something very problematic there, right? Like you're being closed in to a mindset that's maybe not as deep or as meaningful as you believe that it is. So I think the open mind is very important as well, to explore other traditions and curiosities if you feel that curiosity. Okay, I think those are the questions.
peacefulness of, you know? Oh shit. It's a camera.
Can I continue what I was saying before?
Oh,
Just show
yeah,
me
it's
the
starting. I
video.
love it. Shit, I'm choking underwater. I'm good, I'm good. Sorry about that.
Oh, you know what?
Is there a way to get a...
What do you want to give him? Sorry, I apologize.
The ice.
I'm sorry about that.
The ice. You want it?
I'm good now. I choked on it. I tried taking a sip, but I felt kind of bad from.
Can I use this? This. Yeah, yeah.
I apologize about taking your water.
It's okay.
Okay, guys, let's go back to the conversation. The
Okay,
conversation
let's go back. He said that Buddhism. I don't know. I forgot.
I was saying,
Okay, let me get him a water.
Avoiding the evidence.
yeah, I was just trying to say that if I want to follow something in my life, right? I don't want to go on blind faith. Okay, maybe yeah, Buddhism has nice teachings, but if you're not bringing me any evidence that I know this is for sure from the created universe, because I don't care. Okay, man said nice things. There's so many people write so many nice self-help books, and they say nice things and make your life better. Fine, not to be stressed, not to judge other people. Who cares about what other people say? Just focus on yourself. Don't be jealous of other people. Everyone has different skills and talents. Yeah, every there's so many books on those topics. But now I'm just trying to say is how do you know if what you got is really divine? It's from the creator of the universe. Because I'm just saying for myself personally, I only care what the creator of the universe has to say. The creator of the universe defines what's good and bad. The creator of the universe, is the one to tell me the psychology of people, how to be a good husband, how to raise kids, how to be truly happy and successful, right? That's what Judaism teaches. How do you truly be happy? What's happiness? You're saying, oh, happiness is, avoiding suffering or whatever, or getting to the state of mind where there's no more suffering. Yeah, but that's one idea of happiness. But but there's some people still there. They're still doing that way, and they're still not happy. But all I'm saying is, if the creator of the universe gave something, he gave a book to humanity. That's the book I want to follow. You can follow whatever teachings you like, but I'm trying to go with what God gave, because God's the ultimate truth. And I was saying that Judaism is not like any other religion, which is all on blind faith. Judaism actually has evidence that no way a human being could have written it, and then you can know for sure it's from the creator of the universe. And I was saying the proof, for example, I'll give you another proof. It says in the Torah, in order to eat kosher fish, what do you need? Fins.
So this is actually one of the it's a deep point about the human mind. It's very difficult for us to walk on faith in terms of like trying and getting an experience. So we tend to be a little bit closed-minded, right? And that creates stress. That means we get into like a particular thought bubble, a particular way of life bubble that's maybe unnecessary and actually causes unnecessary suffering. And it's difficult for us to explore different traditions, philosophies, cultures in an in-depth way. So what has to be done a lot of the times is to kind of, maybe it's not about a creator God or some like ultimate power, but to express like feats, like to show, like as a monk, if you see a monk sitting there still for like multiple hours or over a long period of time, you're like, whoa, this is something very special or important or powerful that I, now believe in or am convinced by. And that's quite necessary. And it's really an art form to kind of create an environment that is inviting but not convincing. And that's really where the meditation practice can continue. Because if we're convinced, we're still going to be cycling in the same things, the same habit energies that have been going on in the mind for a long time. Whereas if we are inspired or we feel invited, there's kind of a chance or an opportunity to change or explore or investigate different aspects of our experience that we weren't aware of before, right? And kind of that to look deeply again, freshly, newly. and takes a lot of time to develop. Uh, because I'm like a monk and a religious teacher and religious presenter in some ways. So it's something I consider about a lot, not how to convince people, because I explicitly don't want to convince people, but how to invite them to stop and look more deeply in a way that's not too abrasive, but in some sense, it has to be a little bit abrasive, because what is being abraded, or what is kind of being rubbed against, or um, chopped down, is the ego, right? Our selfishness, our desire, like I am the center of the universe, uh, but not in a way that uh, puts people in danger or excludes people, you know, or certainly not causes harm to anyone.
Yeah, yeah. So it says fins and scales.
Okay, what is
And the Torah tells you that.
Okay.
The Torah says that every fish. This is written thousands of years ago, right? That every fish that has scales must have fins.
Okay.
Meaning you'll never find a fish that has scales and no
Oh,
fins.
you're saying that's evidence of the
Now
Torah?
wait,
Well, you have to let
3,300
him
years
respond,
later.
because you made a claim against him.
I know. Wait, I'm saying going over the proof, right? I'm going over what I was saying before.
Okay.
All I'm trying to say is that this was written thousands of years ago, and to this day, we never found a fish that has scales but no fins. Because the Torah said no, every scale, God wrote in the Torah, the creator of the universe, who knows all the fish. And have this in mind: there's the world is 80% water.
Okay.
The ocean goes miles and miles deep. I don't think if someone, God forbid, made the Bible, like a human being, what, you think the guy, like, he investigated, he went with a submarine down all the way and checked for every single sea creature?
What do you think about that?
How can someone make such a claim and thing? Only the creator of all the fish. And like I was saying before about the proof of the pig. Only the creator of...
Yeah, well, I just want to let him respond.
Yeah, I mean, people have a lot of beliefs about things, and
It's not belief, this is evidence. How can a human being know that? That shows that no way a human being can...
whether it's like in science, for example, it's like we have the theory of the fact of evolution and all the evidence, etc.
You believe we came from monkeys?
No, I'm saying that even that is just a theory. So as more evidence comes along, you can find out other things. And it's always like that with everything. So whatever workable model you have to help you to focus on doing good deeds and being mindful, coming back to the present moment and not being so stressed about your life, then do that and do it more and really follow through with that and practice it. And don't just make it like about a belief or about debating about things
Again,
or
but belief
convincing other
determines
people
action.
about it but practicing, and practice to do good.
So you need to, again, if you have to have a belief system in order to determine what's good and bad. So you're saying, who cares about the belief system? What do you mean? The belief system is the most important thing. Obviously, you need action. You need to be good. You need to act upon it.
Not to interrupt, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I feel like we've been stuck on this topic for a little while.
Yeah.
Like it's been a while on this topic. Not saying you're right, he's right, whatever.
Yeah.
I think maybe we would need to let's move on to something else, because it's like
Can I give one more proof?
one
more proof.
We already went over a bunch of them. That's what I mean.
We did two. Let's do one more and then we'll finish with that.
I think the only reason I don't want to is because if you do one more, it's going over the same point. I think your point is already established.
Okay, so we have another question from a new friend. Hey, saw the video and came over to your channel. Why do monks seem to move so slow and methodical? Is there some reason for this? Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, brother. And I wasn't very religious before I became a monk, just American and a little bit of Christian. So monks tend to move in kind of a slow, methodical way. What it really is a sense of mindfulness or a sense of presence. So when we're in a hyper rush to get to the next place, it's almost like we think that we're going to get to another idea of our life out there, somewhere else. But actually, life is only right here, and death is only right here. 5 minutes from now is a delusion. It's not that's not going to happen. It may or may not happen, but that ultimately, some future idea you have about today or tomorrow or a few minutes from now is completely a fantasy in terms of just being aware. in terms of awareness itself. So a monk's job is to be practicing meditation full time, right? It's kind of what the robes represent, is that even though we get caught up in thoughts, we get caught up in stress, we get caught up in delusions and frustration and the kind of desire for more and more, we stop that and we come back to the breathing in the present moment, which is an experience. It's not a thought, it's not an idea, and we continue that. And then as you live like that for a longer and longer period of time, your mode of operation, your way of being really shifts and changes to be like that, right? So you walk with mindfulness, you breathe with mindfulness, you see with mindfulness. That's how it goes, right? That's how you flow. And you'll notice that if you're aware enough to kind of look deeply and not just look in terms of the complicated mind, when you look deeply, you will see when someone else is mindful, when someone else is aware, and when they're not, right? And yes, we are live streaming from Bodh Gaya, India, nearby the tree of the Buddha. So we'll continue with the podcast. And if you have any questions, you can ask them as we listen.
All right, let's do another one. Let's go to another one. A different question. What punishment do you think stoning people would be acceptable for?
I don't think that the answer to people's mistakes, or whatever you want to call it, their evil, is to harm them. I think it's that nobody needs to be punished. People need to be helped. And once again, this isn't something where we say, "Oh, no common sense." Let's put people who want to kill people in a room with tons of people. It has nothing to do with that. It's just like if you look at the American prison system, if you look at a system that's based on punishing and harming people because of their mistakes, largely related to the environment that they grew up in and the conditions of the society, that's not a system that I want to be a part of. It's not a system I want to support.
So you don't want to stone people?
If we look at the Netherlands, for example, if you look at you throw stones until they die.
You throw stones
If
until
you look,
I'm not saying to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what. I'm not saying to stone a murder. I'm never doing that.
finish
you
this
want to stone a
thing.
murder?
No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying what would you do in your system for murderers who want to go chase and kill people?
Well, that's what I was going to say. I love the system that the Netherlands have, where they're really focused on rehabilitation, they're focused on compassion, they're focused on protecting the community and educating people and kind of getting to like the root cause of why someone would want to do or do horrible things. Because happy people don't hurt people. And you brought up the examples of Hitler, I guess because you're a Jew. And so you're talking about Hitler and how evil he was, etc. Well, Hitler was not a peaceful person. He was not a happy person. He was addicted to methamphetamines. He was deeply unstable. And because of that great suffering within him, he caused a lot of suffering in the world. So I think one of the best things that we can do as religious leaders is to help people to suffer less. And if they believe in a certain system or not, the practices of that system that lead to the betterment of those people to be more peaceful, to be more happy, etc., are really what the essential work of a religious leader is.
So you don't think we should stone people for eating the tail of a pig or nothing?
I think that
Or a
veganism,
murder.
I think. So Buddhism doesn't really emphasize gods or deities. What it emphasizes is deep meditation practice. And so once you live in such a way where it's more accessible to like face your mind very closely and very deeply, then you go into kind of a spiritual mind. And in that spiritual mind, even though there may be deities or beings, evil or positive or negative beings, spiritual beings, that really the path is not about that. The path is about freedom from thoughts, freedom from desires, freedom from fears, freedom from complicated thoughts that drive our lives, that keep us from being kind, that keep us from helping others, that keep us from continuing to develop to this highest state of the human mind, right? A state of peace and freedom, a state of compassion and wisdom are really what the essential work of
So you
a
don't-
religious leader
So
is.
you don't think we should stone people for eating the tail of a pig or nothing?
I think that
Or a murderer.
veganism. I think that veganism has a lot of good points, but firstly, we have to address childism, and childism
No, but
is one of the
just-
very important things.
If you had to give a yes or no answer, you think we should stone people?
Probably not.
What about you? Should we stone people?
No.
Okay. Let's move on to another question. Because you guys agreed on that one for the most part.
You're right. I think the prison systems are off here because they just punish people, but they don't work on actually taking. Like for example, you have someone's sick, right? And like something's wrong with they have a broken leg and they're taking Advil. You're just masking the systems. You're not fixing the root of the problem. So that's what he's saying. I think that's common sense. Yeah.
100? What does it say? It says it's probably not real gold or nothing. That's like a metal detector.
What's your next question?
Oh, okay. Let's move on to the next question. Because you guys agreed on that one. That's why I wanted to move on from that other one, because it was just circles.
I know because I'm
Okay,
just.
well, whether you blame him or he blames
It's not. I'm not. It's not blame. I
circles?
just think it's not like Buddhism doesn't really have a claim to.
All right, regardless, let's just move on. Do you guys believe that Herobrine is real?
Okay, hi Robert. What I consider the Matan episode the oddest interview setting that I've participated in, not quite. There's actually another YouTube creator that I did a video with around the same time who's quite a bit more, has a much bigger channel than Matan does. And I don't know if that video will actually be published, but it was a much more uncomfortable setting where I think some of the people were actually drunk and some of them were aggressive. Not completely aggressive, but a little bit. So this, compared to that, is actually quite tame. And I talked with Matan before about like, I'm actually a monk, and I know you have your shtick, you have your comedy thing, but are we going to be able to be respectful and considerate, really? And he was. I enjoyed being on that, and I'd love to do some more things with him in the future as well. So we'll see.
What? What's here? What did you say?
Do you believe him?
Yeah, I
What's
mean,
your-
I think that the brine of
All right, regardless, let's just move on. Do you guys believe that Herobrine is real?
What? What's here? What did you say?
Do you believe him?
yeah, I
What's
mean,
hero?
I think that the brine of heroes and the brine
Oh.
of goodness is something
That's not what
extremely
I'm asking.
valuable.
That's
What?
not what I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Can you explain what you just said?
Herobrine.
What is that?
Do you know Minecraft?
I think that we should try to become heroes of goodness, heroes of mindfulness, heroes of coming back to the present moment and learning how to just walk with happiness, with our breathing in the present moment, in nature, and learn how to regulate our emotions through those kinds of practices. Even though you're stressed, even though your Minecraft world got deleted by your grandpa on your Windows PC, you go for a walk and you come back to your breathing and you experience the peace of. Okay, so what is the point of Buddhism? The point of Buddhism is to live life in a way where you cause less suffering and you cultivate more peacefulness and happiness and freedom, not just for yourself, but also for others. And how to get enlightened is that we take that very, very seriously. We take being at peace within ourselves and helping others to be at peace and the cultivation of happiness in the mind to be really, really important. And that leads us into more and more involved and continuous and intensive practice of meditation, contemplation, reflection that leads us to, eventually realization, which, enlightenment is about becoming realized and means like to realize the true nature of your life, the true nature of reality, the true nature of everything, the true nature of who you really are. And it's important not to get kind of into the weeds about that, because that's not really that. That's just an idea. Um, but Buddhism also has a lot of good points for building community, for different practices in terms of how we can live our life, and building leaders. You know, when I got started into Buddhism, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this on the podcast, but when I got started in Buddhism when I was 20 years old, I was so fragile. I had so much suffering. I had so much fear inside of myself and anxiety inside of myself. And I just had no idea how to work with the mind. And through Buddhism, you know, Buddhist community and being able to stay at a temple and a meditation center, I was really able to transform my mind. And now I have the chance to help a lot of other people work on their minds as well. So yeah, Buddhism has a lot of good points for sure. Um, like I said, I can't really speak much about anything related to paganism, but for reincarnation in Buddhism, it's really about recognizing the preciousness of this life. And that means this moment, this experience, this right now. So people get so, I get so caught up sometimes in my stories and my worries and my fears about the past, about the future, and coming back to this moment, this breath, this seeing. Yeah, the seeing, this precious jewel, this precious gift of seeing, of hearing, of breathing, of having a body. You know, breathing is actually very pleasant. Breathing can be a source of happiness, and taking responsibility for this life and understanding that how we use this life, how we act in this life, has an effect in the future. Yeah, Dalton, what I can recommend is that try to follow along, try to stay connected, try to remember that Bhante is here and Bhante isn't going anywhere. to the best of his abilities. Um, as a human, that's very reliable. And we can just feel peace with that. And then if we get more serious about being with that peace and coming back to that peace and returning to that peace, then we'll use our innate faculties. We'll use our natural skillfulness to come back to generosity, to come back to, what is Buddhism about? Can I get a book on Buddhism? Looking into videos on YouTube about Buddhism, maybe watching some of the videos on my channel. But already that's a big reach, and when I was on this podcast and in general, when I'm doing these live streams on YouTube, I'm not so much here to teach Buddhism as I am practicing Buddhism and inviting people to be here with me and to practice with me. And if you want to learn more, I'm here to help and support as much as I can in whatever way. But a lot of this we have to really find out naturally, because when it becomes very like complicated, or when it becomes like how we were trained in school, like to memorize and read, and I'm an intuitive learner, so I know that for me to learn something, I have to be inspired and I have to keep coming back to it in the most accessible and natural way that I can. And then I learn through my experience. And then if I have some inspiration that comes up for me naturally to read a book, to look into a video, to listen to a talk, then I follow through with that. Okay. And to kind of really get the answer to that question, maybe this is I think a quite a clear answer for me, right? So Dalton says, is there a clear roadmap or set of steps to begin these things of cultivating peacefulness, happiness, and freedom? Cultivate a mind that continues to ask that question. Bring up the mind that continues to ask that question, right? How do I get started in Buddhism? And that's where you find your answer, rather than like a prescription that I give you, or what I specifically tell you to do, or download this app, or read this book, or, follow this teacher, or something like that. It's more so cultivating that mind that really has that question. Does that make sense? Like bring that question into the heart and beat it. And then you will definitely get a very good and useful answer. If the Buddha was from a poor family and still chose the path of the Dhamma, would you still respect the teachings? Of course, because the teachings aren't about material wealth or material poverty, just in the same way that really the happiness or the peace that we feel is about the mind. It's not about the body. It's not about material things. So to find a depressed millionaire, or to find an anxious person driving a Mercedes Benz or an Audi, or living in an expensive house is no more difficult than to find an anxious or depressed or mentally confused or spiritually confused person living in poverty. And we have to kind of digest that the real problems we have concerned with the mind, concerned with our lack of happiness, concerned with our lack of peacefulness, are not about the material things that we have or don't have, but are actually about how we work with the mind, how we hold the mind, how we recognize the mind, how we recognize our nature, our life. Right now, yeah, I've got some money in my pocket. I don't, but I have some support. People support me to live this way. If I need a flight ticket, if I need food to eat, if I want to drink some tea, I have some tea here, right? But really, sitting here at this moment, I can hear the sound of the bell, the chimes that are outside my door. the door. It's not my door, it's just a door. I can feel the cool air, the fresh air blowing into this room. I can smell the nature. And these are all sources of happiness. And they're much more reliable and powerful sources of happiness or peacefulness than having a new smartphone or someone giving me, $100 or something like that, someone donating to me. That doesn't mean that I don't like nice things. It doesn't mean that I don't like nice food. It doesn't mean that I don't like feeling healthy instead of feeling sick. It doesn't mean that I like, people being mean to me rather than people being nice to me. But what it does mean is that I recognize that there are sources for happiness and there are sources for peacefulness right here that don't have anything to do with money and don't have anything to do with like the materialistic situation of my life. But being grateful, being at peace with what I already have. And that works if you're very wealthy, and it works if you're very poor. And if you can kind of energize and feed that mind of peacefulness, that mind of contentment, that mind of gratitude for what is already here, this gives a space of like a creative approach to how you live your life from that point onward, so that you can get what you want, so that you can develop material wealth if that's what you want to develop, and that you can do so in a way where you actually enjoy and appreciate it. You can do it with wisdom. Whereas a wealthy person that's operating from this place of anxiousness, they're very constricted in terms of what they can do, in terms of how they can use what they have to benefit themselves and to benefit others. And it's the same with someone who's in poverty, who's just trying to get out of poverty and maybe develop some kind of material wealth. If they're stressed or mentally, right? If we're in a position mentally where we have a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and then we fixate on that stress. It's like, I am my stress, I am my fear, I am my depression. There's a very slim path moving forward on how you can change your life to not be in that situation anymore. Whereas if you can stop fixating on the negative things and start recognizing all the positive points that are already here, right? All these treasures of life, like that you can see right now. It's amazing. It's incredible. It's wonderful that you can hear right now, that you can breathe without pain right now, that you're safe right now, that you're not in a war zone, that you're not in Gaza right now. And you can nourish that feeling of peacefulness right now. And from that position, what's Buddhism about? How am I going to figure out, my next steps in my life from this place of peace rather than from this place of like, if I figure out my life, then I'll be peaceful. If I get rid of my depression, then I'll be peaceful. If I fix this problem in my relationship or in the world, then I'll be at peace. Then I'll be happy. Just the sound of the chimes or the feeling of wind or having a breath can truly, I don't say this to kind of like give people some idea of life that's flowery or romantic, but really that there is a sense of peace that can just go along with breathing, that can be developed from just breathing, literally. Okay. And that's what this is all about. That's what Buddhism is all about. My favorite tea is called ripe pu'er. It's a fermented tea, ripe pu'er. And hi, Meredith. Always happy to see your comments. Okay, let's continue with the podcast with Matan Evan, funny young man, Matan Evan. Just being in nature and walking, and you learn how to be a friend to your.
Do you know Minecraft?
I think that we should try to become heroes of goodness, heroes of mindfulness, heroes of coming back to the present moment and learning how to walk, just walk with happiness, with our breathing in the present moment, in nature, and learn how to regulate our emotions through those kinds of practices. Even though you're stressed, even though your Minecraft world got deleted by your grandpa on your Windows PC, you go for a walk and you come back to your breathing and you experience the peace of just being in nature and walking, and you learn how to be a friend to yourself. You develop loving kindness towards yourself,
What do you
towards
think
your
about
heart,
that?
towards your mind.
Great. Sounds.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. What is he saying? That's not common sense.
Well, I'm saying, so you believe that Herobrine's real?
I don't know what even Herobrine is.
Another reminder about this common sense thing: it's common sense to wake up in the morning, but unless you wake up, you're not going to have the chance to smell the flowers, to feel the fresh air, to feel the joy of the sunshine. When you're depressed, lying in bed, and your room is filthy and your life is filthy and your mind is filthy, yeah, of course, just get up and go for a walk and clean your room and just take care of yourself a little bit and go for a walk and enjoy just walking, living your life. Yes, that's common sense, but one way is just thinking about it, common sense, and you're still going to be depressed and your room's still going to be a mess and your life is still going to be a mess. But when you get up and clean your room, even though it's difficult, and take care of your home and take care of your body, wash your body, wash your home, whatever, and then go for a walk and just enjoy walking and breathing and being in the sunshine or in the rain, where's your depression going to be? So we live in such a way as a Buddhist and as a meditator and someone who's like opening to life rather than constricting around life, that erases depression. Where depression can't keep up with us, anxiety can't keep up with us, our miserableness, our fear, our confusion, it can't keep up with us because we're too busy. Busy doing what? Busy doing good deeds, busy being mindful, busy coming back to this source of peacefulness and happiness that is our awareness itself. No matter what. Very happy to have new friends coming in, and if you have any questions as we listen, you can ask, okay?
Is that Minecraft? Is that the thing that created Minecraft?
No, it's that one guy in Minecraft with the. Do you play Minecraft?
I was a kid.
Do you know Steve? He's that one. He's the guy you play as, the blue shirt, those pants. It's him with no eyes or something. His eyes go white.
Yeah.
So some people believe that he was real, and some people believe that he wasn't real, because some people thought it was a glitch, but some people thought it was like a mod, like a hack or something.
Yeah.
Or some people saw that the developers put it into the game.
Yeah.
And some people think that Herobrine is real.
Do you think he's real?
I don't know enough about it to speak on it.
Okay, that's a good answer. Welcome TikTok, Miguel Startiags. No, we already went over that. I guess this is kind of similar to the last question. This goes for both of you. Are people in your religion allowed to play video games like World of Warcraft?
Yeah, we can play video games, but we play video games. This is actually a really important thing, right? So let's think about violent video games like Helldivers or Halo 3.
Right.
If you're playing Helldivers or you're like playing Halo 3 and you're shooting people, right? So you're not killing people, right? And so you could be doing that in a way where your mind was very peaceful, where you were just relaxed, and that was a way that you relaxed and calmed down. Is it like having a good thing to put those images in your mind? Maybe it's not the best thing, but it's not inherently a horribly bad thing. Now, if you were playing Mario Kart or you were playing Super Jubilee on the GameCube or Bajumam, you would find out, right, that you could become very stressed and very angry playing Mario Kart or Bajumam on the GameCube. And if you're doing something like that and you're stressing yourself out and you're getting yourself worked up, well, you have to stop doing that, because you're going to get upset and you're going to create these patterns of upsetness inside of yourself. So you don't want to do that. So it's more important even though the games are different, one's violent or dangerous or evil, one is Ba or Kirby's Super Adventure on the
Kirby's
GameCube.
Super- is that one?
Whatever. Kirby can absorb like cranberry and then become a cranberry Kirby, or can absorb AW0 sugar.
Is
and
that
then
a video game or that's like
that's the premise of Kirby.
so it's not a religion?
I don't think that anyone has control over what a religion can be or can't.
So
If someone wanted to start a Kirby-based A&W absorption religion, then they could.
Also, some people think Kirby is like a god. He's like a godlike figure.
I think that people can believe in all kinds of different things.
Okay.
So just believing in something is fine, but that's just is what it is. It's like you have a thought that's very, very real for you. Well, okay, it's real, it's true, it's not true, it's not real ultimately, whatever. But it's just a thought. So let it go.
Minecraft. What do you think?
So the question was, what did you say on video games?
I know. I asked if people in your religion can play video games like World of Warcraft.
So, what's World of Warcraft?
It's a game for the
Like
laptop.
shooting people, killing people.
No, I don't think there's guns, but it's like killing monsters.
Okay, I'll tell you. Listen, I'm
Lots,
gonna take
you can
on-
buy, you can make gold and sell the gold on eBay for real money.
So I'll tell you, with any type of content, if the content has negative influence, then no matter, even if you're just playing it and you don't really like care about, like whatever, you're not making a big deal about it, it's gonna subconsciously affect you, whatever. But that's a side point. But again, like let's say, okay, it's not such a bad game. I don't know. Let's say you're playing Super Mario Bros. Or whatever it is. I don't know.
That one is okay.
Whatever game it is, I don't know. A game that's
But
not,
Super Mario, he's stomping on those brown guys. So maybe
Whatever.
people would consider him a murderer or a racist.
whatever games like that. Again, if a guy's spending his whole day just playing video games, like what do you have a purpose, you have a mission to do in this world. Like why, like yeah.
Oh, you're
like-
saying he's wasting time playing video
Meaning,
games.
if you're just playing a little bit of a part of the day because you want to get your energy out, you just had a long day, whatever, fine, it's not a big deal. But if you're just spending your whole day doing that, you're missing on life. Like there's things to do. God wants you to be your best self. God wants you to work to
There
get
is
closer to have a relationship. to
there
help
is some
influence the
true
world.
point about that, because of course it's like let kids be kids, let them play games and stuff,
Yeah.
leave them alone.
You-
Well, help them, spend time with them, nourish them, help them to develop. But ultimately, if you're just spending all your time playing video games, that's
You're
not
missing
going
out
to
on
turn
life.
into a very meaningful life ultimately.
You're just
So
escaping.
focus on helping people also,
Video
doing
game-
good deeds also, not just playing video
Yeah.
games. But it's okay if you do like that too.
These
Just
things
don't
are
do like that.
basically escaping reality. People a lot of times use it instead of using it as an outlet, for like an hour or two, whatever, or however many minutes per day. They use it as an escape.
Well, we have to
escape
learn how
reality.
to leave people alone,
Yeah.
and we also need to learn how to help people. And those are the two big important points in how we interact with each other. It's like sometimes we just need to take a rest, let it be, don't put on judgments. And then sometimes we need to like get involved in helping each other. Otherwise, that person may maybe end their own life. I looked at a statistic recently: 12 people every day end their own life in America from 24 and under.
Only 12
And then-
people in their lives a day.
A day.
I would
And well,
imagine it to
that's
be a
not
lot
only-
more.
What if it was you? But 3,000 people, more than 3,000 people attempt to end their own life every day in America. So it's like, it's a serious thing. If we don't work on our mental health, if we don't work on what we do to take care of ourselves, then, it gets to a really serious situation. Probably a lot of people who've watched this have heard about some kid in their school that took their own life.
Oh, really?
It's not uncommon.
What do you think about that?
Well, about what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense what he's saying. Yeah.
So you think people
I mean-
should or shouldn't end their life?
Of what?
Should they end their lives?
Actually, to end your life is like God put you for a mission. You say, God, I'm out. I don't want to do the mission. Like obviously that's a
Heat got
horrible
to the
thing.
cameras.
Huh?
The heat got to the cameras maybe.
What do you think? What do you mean?
Sometimes the heat gets so much the camera has to take a break.
Yo, I'm gonna head out. This is a very beautiful podcast.
You have to go?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Take
Thank
care
you so
of
Thanks for
much.
coming. I
Yeah,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
I really
feel like
appreciate it.
provided a lot of
Nice to
value.
Yes,
This is great. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. This is amazing.
All right, guys, welcome back. I apologize for the cut. We had to let the TikTok megastar out of the building. We usually lock the gate so they're unable to leave until we let them out. Let's continue. I'll ask a new question since I feel like we all kind of forgot a little bit what topic we were on. So let me find a new one. And this one, unfortunately, can't involve the last guy because he had to leave. This is an interesting one. what happens after you die, and what do you think is gonna happen to the other person? Let's start off with the monk.
Well, sometimes people ask a question like that, and I said, when you die, give me a call and let me know. And so the point is that we firstly have to understand what life is like, and we have to look more deeply at our lives and look more deeply at what it means to be a human being and what it means to take care of our mental action, our physical action, and our verbal action. Because ultimately, if you're just only watching Netflix and getting Uber Eats and playing video game or what have you, not that any of that is inherently bad or wrong, but how do you really know about yourself? How do you know about the depths of which life can be experienced? Um, so that's
What do you,
that's
but
my
what do you think
position
will
on
happen
it.
to him after he dies?
This person, what happens to them after
Sure.
they die? Well, I guess this brings up an even deeper question. So, like, what is the self? Like, what is the nature of you being separate from everything? What is that? Because if we were to look from an ecological point of view, a scientific point of view, I don't exist separate from the environment. I and the environment inter-are, right? And it's not to say that all are one or some spiritual thing like that, but it's really like that. Like my body or myself, right here, it depends on the oxygen in the room. It depends on this situation because what person am I if not for Matan being here with me right now and for this Jewish rabbi being here with me right now? I don't even know what rabbi means necessarily.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or teacher?
Teacher. Someone who teaches
There
Torah.
you go.
Do you think he's gonna go to hell after he dies?
Okay, it's a great question. You have to understand the background what hell is. Judaism is unlike Christianity. Don't ever look at Christianity and use
No,
that
but
to compare
let's
Judaism.
just go with
Hell is
Judaism.
not the same thing as that. First, let's understand what the purpose of life. And
Hi, everyone. Welcome in. We're just reviewing a podcast I did with funny guy, Matan Evan, and kind of a semi debate between a rabbi and a monk, a Buddhist monk. If you have any questions, you can ask them in this live session. And please feel that this is an invitation to stop thinking and worrying and doing things and to just be and to enjoy just being, even if it's just for a few moments. When we're like we have a stomach ache or we overeat or something happens in our lives and then we feel very stressed, we feel very upset, at least I do. Uh, it's like all I want at that moment is to just be and to just enjoy just being and for that suffering or that pain, that problem to not be there. And what I've found is that a lot of the time that suffering or that pain, that like big problem isn't there, right? There's not a big problem there, but I don't appreciate that. I don't stop myself long enough to appreciate there not being a problem. And that's kind of like peacefulness. And then it's always seeking after pleasure. And what I've found is when I'm always seeking after pleasure, then when pain comes, I'm always trying to avoid pain. And I never get to cultivate and feed and open myself to just being at peace. That I don't need to stimulate myself right now. And that there's a kind of joy and freedom in that. It can even be like a rapture, right? Like a freedom from all the stress and all the worry that I've gone through in my life at that moment. Because there's nothing but peacefulness and awareness. And what I find is that if I train myself to make use of these moments that are more open, more, where I already feel pleasant, I already feel okay. And then I can feed this like just being in this peacefulness that over time, those painful moments, those depressing moments or anxious moments, they lose their power over me. because I've found that sometimes when I feel anxious or depressed or in pain, I actually do things that maybe release that pain for a little bit, but for the long term actually cause more suffering. And if I learn to value just being and just being at peace right now, I don't have to do those things when I feel pain that cause more suffering. And I can actually learn to do things that bring about less suffering as time goes by. All right, let's continue listening.
We'll answer the question. The purpose of life, Judaism says, is that God is the ultimate good, He's an infinite being, He's omnipotent, all-powerful, and He created the universe to give His ultimate good, the ultimate pleasure. The ultimate pleasure, not physical pleasure, but pleasure of being connected to Him. Greater than all the physical pleasures combined in the universe.
So you can see actually in this video right now, my eyes are closed and I'm just kind of sitting there meditating. And you'd think, well, whoa, you're in a debate, you're on a podcast, you're on a stage, you have to like be involved, you have to be attached, you have to be like struggling with that in some way. But actually, I recommend you to try sometime when your friends are talking nonsense or there's a stressful situation out there. It doesn't mean there has to be a stressful situation in here. And at any moment, even if they're having fun, but maybe you don't feel attracted to that at that moment, you can go into yourself and just meditate and just be at peace, right? Just sit there and if they say anything about that, you send them to me. You send them to Monk, and I'll talk with them, and we'll have a call, and we'll make sure there's no bullying going on, and that they know that doing that just sitting there and meditating at any moment is actually really good and cool. And that's a real skibbity lifestyle, actually.
From the first man till now, billions of people, if you combine all that, it's not equal to 1 second of being close to God, of having that pleasure of being close to God. That's a spiritual pleasure. And God says, what is heaven? Heaven is that place that this world is a test. This way, the Torah says this world is a...
I see what you're saying.
Wait. This world is a hallway to the next world.
Okay.
This world is God putting us
Do you
in
think
a
his
challenge.
hallway will lead him to hell or heaven?
Wait, listen.
Okay.
Sorry
for interrupting.
No, it's okay. Just if I say the whole thing, you understand the whole question. So this world is a challenge zone. It's like a quote unquote a game. Let's say a video game, right? You have to earn, do good, right, and avoid bad, avoid the negative. So let's put it in like bank account terms. Be positive, like make money, but don't lose money. And meaning, what does that mean? Do the positive, do acts of kindness, charity, keeping the commandments between us and God and God and man, right? And avoiding the negative, not to steal, not to kill, not to speak bad about people, right? By doing that and God gives us a bunch of challenges and situations that test us in those things, test us with our relationship with other people, test us with our relationship with our parents, whatever it is. Once we do those things, that earns us our relationship with God. And that earns us the ultimate pleasure. So what's hell?
Okay.
Hell is the opposite of heaven. Just like heaven is the greatest pleasure, hell is the ultimate state of shame, the ultimate state of, being disconnected from God. It's like discomfort. It's put it like this way. It's like and hell is like a washing machine. Meaning what? That even hell.
Can you go from hell to heaven in Judaism?
Yes. So God, what's hell? If someone couldn't perfect himself and work on himself in this world and get to that stage of fixing his, learning the Torah, studying the instruction manual to life, keeping the commandments, the mitzvot, the ones between us and God, between us and other people, and working on his bad character traits. If you couldn't do that in this world and he's not complete, so what is hell? Hell is that place that, okay, you didn't complete, you didn't clean yourself, you still have stains on your garment. Hell is that place where it's like that. It's painful in the sense of like, oh, I didn't accomplish that, but it's that dry cleaning. But once you do dry cleaning, okay, the clothing is good. You have heaven, right?
So you're saying that going in hell, it's like, are you physically spinning in circles?
No, obviously it's a spiritual place. It's not physical. It's not like the Christians say where it's pitchforks and
Well,
whatever.
you're in a mental.
I don't even say mentally because mentally is also physical. It's a spiritual world. It's above our comprehension. The only way I can explain
Can I
it to
see
you,
it?
No, it's not physical.
You don't have any videos?
No.
Okay. So, but
the point of-
regardless, will he go to hell? That was the question.
So if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, meaning connecting to God. So if you're a non-Jew, there's 7 things you got to do in this world.
What are
not
they?
to kill, not to steal, not to do animal cruelty, right? Believing the
Why
these
number
are the
3?
Animal cruelty.
Well, what if
There's
it's
7 laws that God gave to the humanity.
But what if
called the
it's
7 laws
what
of
if it's
Noah.
not a dog or a cat or a bird, and he starts to become like an ant? What if I want to step on him?
So it depends in that case.
Oh,
Again,
then it's
there's-
allowed.
Don't do
there's
that. Don't
obviously-
do that.
Don't step on ants.
No.
There's
Because
obviously-
they also alive. They want to live.
So there's
But
obviously
it's
So
but
you-
I like.
So the commandments have subcategories. That's called halachot, the laws, right? So for example, an animal, you can never do that, put that on. But an ant, if the fly or ant is bothering you and it's causing you to not fulfill your purpose in life, then if you could get it out of the room, shoot, let's say get a paper, put it out,
That's
fine,
allowed.
do that. If not, then okay.
I like that.
Yeah, so the point that the rabbi, it's a young rabbi, it's a young man. So, my approach and my understanding with him was to be, non-conflict oriented and just open and kind of let him share. And, that I was allowed to share was a big opportunity for me because I know that Matan has a lot of followers and people watch the videos. So I was more focused on like my presence rather than teaching Buddhism or convincing people of Buddhism. So just people could get the kind of energetic feel that I've developed by being a monk and practicing meditation and living this way. And then if they were interested, then they can look into it for themselves. When we go into the monk life, or when we start to practice meditation or look into something like Buddhism, the last thing that you could say that is, or that is about, is like avoiding suffering. Because when we start to take responsibility for our actions, when we start to look deeply at our mind and our bodily actions, and then the effects of those, what we find is that there's a lot of suffering within us. And the magic of it is that actually that suffering is a kind of, it's like a fertilizer, it's like a compost, it's like a shit that we can make into compost for the flowers, for the fruits. So being a monk and being a Buddhist and like going to meditation retreats and living at a monastery, I've had to face so much suffering within myself, but it's facing that suffering within myself with good techniques and good ways of life where I know how to transform that suffering into happiness, into peace, and eventually into wisdom, right? Like an insight about why am I actually suffering rather than just feeling upset about the suffering itself. And the rabbi here also has some very good points because when he talks about like God and about like the experience of being with God, this is like being deep in meditation. Only for a Buddhist, we don't call it God, and it's more about the nature, and not just trees and grass and wind, but the nature of reality, right? The nature of life itself that we as human beings are experiencing. So let's continue listening. And don't be shy to ask your questions. And also, don't be shy to leave a like on this live video. If you're happy to be here, if you're happy that this is happening, by leaving a like, it's likely that more people come across this video, and it's actually a way you can practice generosity and just to support this work in whatever way that you can.
Then obviously like it's an ant, whatever. Don't make it suffer. Don't trap it in a freezer, make it suffer, whatever, right? Like
No, I wouldn't want to
But
do
I'm
that.
just saying.
I'm just saying.
If it's preventing you, if a mosquito is gonna give you a bite and you're gonna get a disease from it, then obviously
No, I'm not saying something where you're defending yourself.
But I'm just saying if you can let it out of the room without doing that, then fine, that's the best thing to do. But putting that to the side, that's like the side point. Point I'm trying to say is there's a purpose to life, and that's to get close to God. This world's a test. This world's a challenge. And Jews have 613 things they need to do, categories of things.
613.
Yes. Obviously, whatever. There's details, whatever. You could search that online if you want more details. And the non-Jews have the 7. The 7 are what? Not to kill, not to steal, not to commit acts of immorality, and not to do animal cruelty, not to curse God, to believe God, and have to have court systems, follow the laws of the society. So if a non-Jew keeps that, then he's a righteous person.
Let me ask you a question.
If a Jew doesn't keep the 613, he's a not righteous person. That's it.
Let me ask you a question. So if he doesn't believe in the Jewish God, he will go to hell?
So you're missing the. How can you have a relationship to the infinite when you don't even believe in the infinite?
Okay, I'm not asking whether it's right or wrong. I'm just asking if that's what you're
trying to say that you're trying to say again. There's 7.
No, I'm just asking a question. I'm not trying to make any point here.
So I give you the formula. There's 7.
And a lot of what I teach and practice is about not believing in thoughts, knowing how to use thoughts, knowing how to not use thoughts. But not believing in thoughts means you're not lost in all this, right? Thoughts come up and go away, but really, are they your thoughts, or are they thoughts that are happening because of the people that you grew up around, the culture, the society that you were raised in? So if we take like ownership over all of our thoughts, like this is my thought, we'll be stressed all the time. We'll always be trying to hold on to something, like to understand something or work with something that's not solid, that's not permanent, that's just temporary, that's just coming and going, right? It's like trying to carry around water in your hands wherever you go. So instead of trying to carry water around in your hands wherever you go and being stressed as it slips through your hands, or being stressed because the water isn't the way that you like it to be, just let the water flow. Just let thoughts flow. And rather than fixating on thinking, you can actually focus on breathing. And when the thoughts come up, don't think they're your thoughts, they're just thoughts. And maybe they have some connection or relationship to experiences you've had in your life, no doubt. But do they really need to control you? Do you really need to focus on those thoughts and worry about those thoughts and be stressed about those thoughts? Because a lot of the thoughts that we have are just not useful and not wholesome or not helpful. So learning how to let go of thoughts actually allows us to learn how to use thoughts skillfully, or to not use thoughts skillfully. So it's a very important teaching that I'm hoping to share. And if you have questions, don't be shy. You can say hello. You can ask your question.
You have to have a relationship with God.
So if he doesn't, he will go to hell.
The Jewish hell, meaning that you lost your relationship with him.
And so this is a big point about having a relationship with God. But in this, right, for a Buddhist, it's like having a relationship with like the nature or the truth or like the everything, like that which is beyond understanding. So a lot of what I teach is about having a relationship with not understanding, but just being aware, just listening, just being here. And you don't need to understand or cling onto it or grasp onto it or try to manipulate it, but just listening, just being. And this is a very important relationship to have with the nature. But the rabbi here calls that God, and doesn't, he's a young person, so maybe doesn't have a very profound understanding of deep prayer or deep relationship with God, which is okay. We can still be respectful. We can still care about each other, even if we, are lacking in some points. Okay, a couple questions coming through from some of our new friends. Hi there, Cyrix, and hello, TN. All right, so the Shaolin monks meme, right? Martial arts, do monks do martial arts? Not really. Most Shaolin monks are not actually monks. Most Shaolin monks are just performative martial artists, basically. And in Buddhism, or in the life of being a monk, it really doesn't have anything to do with martial arts, with the body. It's more like martial arts with the mind, so that we know how to deal with the mind in a way where we can cut, chop, kick our greediness, our angriness, the mind can be so crazy, so wild, so confused. And so the real Buddhist monk, it means we know how to chop, kung fu chop that greed, that anger, that confusion in our mind and come back to a place of peacefulness. And we can also do that with the minds of other people. So it's a little bit more useful and related to Buddhism as well than the Shaolin Kung Fu kind of martial art meme. And it's not about forgetting. So, not holding on to thoughts is not about forgetting. It's more about remembering what's really here right now. And so, even if you're living at a home where you have a difficult situation, you can go for a walk and you can remember freedom. And then you can bring that remembering of freedom back home with you.
You're going to be distant from him because you don't have that relationship with him.
Okay, so you're saying that he will go to hell though. I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to.
Okay, so I'll tell you the options. So I'll tell you the options. The options. So one, if a person dies, there's a couple options. One is go to heaven.
Okay.
If someone's righteous enough and they fix themselves in this world, they go straight to heaven.
Okay.
Again, heaven is that ultimate pleasure being close to God.
Okay.
It's not eating, drinking food. It's none of that. It's not physical. That's nonsense. Physical is 2 seconds. It can't be bound by space and time because it's not finite. It's infinite, right? So that's that. Then if someone wasn't righteous enough and he couldn't do it, or he was lacking in some of the mitzvot of the commandments, so then he goes to hell and then he goes to heaven. But again, hell meaning not the Christian hell. Hell meaning he has to do that suffering. We say from the physical standpoint, it's 1 year of earthly time, and in the next world it could be whatever, however long, right? Time and space is different in this world and the next. Whatever this, however, it's a waiting period that they have to get that pain of not being connected to God, and then if they're right, and if they still did good deeds, they could go to heaven. Why? And if not, if they're not under that category, the options are something called reincarnation. God gives.
Oh, you believe in reincarnation?
I believe Judaism.
I was about to ask because one Jewish guy, this is for real. He told me that if you're not a Jewish, you might turn into an apple.
So I'll tell you the options.
Is that possible?
There's 4 types of
Can
reincarnation.
you turn into an apple?
Listen, yeah, I'll tell you.
Oh.
There's 4 types of reincarnation. There's human reincarnation. That's every single one.
So we can turn down the volume on the bells a little bit. But for me, it's kind of like a reminder for being aware and just coming back to awareness. And calling people nutty or calling people crazy, you have to be very, very careful about that because everyone, one way or another, is trying to do their best. And when I was meditating in this podcast, it's really like I was closing my eyes and relaxing my face, relaxing my body, and feeling my breathing. And I was relaxing into a place of just being aware in a way that wasn't about like anything in particular, any thought in particular, but more just being aware of relaxation and then even relaxing that awareness of relaxation. So it was just relaxing or just awareness. You could also call it just breathing and being aware and breathing and relaxing. I'll turn down the bells a little bit.
We all reincarnations. We didn't pass our test. Instead of God maybe sending us to hell, instead of God making us miss out on heaven and being on a lower level, He's giving us another chance to come back into the world and work on ourselves. So how do you know what you need to work on? Whatever's hard for you. If you're an angry person, if you're a stingy person, if you're a jealous person, if you don't respect your parents, whatever it is, right? And God said, I'm giving you another chance. That's human reincarnation. If there's certain things a person can do that's so bad that he could, get reincarnated as an animal, or he could get reincarnated as a plant or an inanimate object. So is a plant, depending on what it is. But again, most of the time,
What if
God doesn't.
Let me
God
ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a
human
question.
beings because He wants to give us.
Let me ask you a question.
God's not. Wait. God is not out to get us.
No, I know. I'm just asking a
It's not like
question.
Christianity.
I know, but I just don't want.
God's here to give us
we
the
need
best
to
of life.
flow it through. We need to go on to multiple.
Yeah.
What if he played a joke and what if on accident he turned you into an apple instead of him?
So obviously, God doesn't do acts. There's no accidents. If you're talking
It's
about
not possible.
Not possible. You're talking about an infinite God.
an accident.
Oh no! Forget
Yeah.
a joke.
So this is another good idea or good point about and maybe this will help with the bells too. I don't know. Let me if I unplug this, maybe this will help. Let me know if that sounds a little bit less annoying, because I don't want it to be too dark. Sometimes it's intimidating to show up in a live stream. There's a monk sitting in the dark. What's going on? A little bit intense. So intensity is good, but first we have to start being good before we go into the intensity. And the more good that you do, and the more goodness that you feel within yourself, that's how much you can go into the intensity of the mind safely, without the negative side effect. There will still be challenges and difficulties, but you will be safe in your goodness. You'll be able to rest in your goodness. So a really good technique or thing that we can do in life, it's not just about letting go of thoughts. Because about being under the control of them. So we can actually generate like positive thoughts. We can generate thoughts of loving kindness. We can generate thoughts of friendliness towards ourselves. And instead of just sitting there in our misery or in our angry thoughts or our negative thoughts, we can actually say to ourselves, and this is really powerful if we put our heart into it, may I be happy. May I be free from the pain with myself. And so when you feel pain, you can actually use those thoughts. It's very powerful. Or when you feel anger, you can use those thoughts. You can say, may I be free from anger. When you feel like you don't have any peace in your life, you can say with your thoughts, use it as a practice, as a technique, may I be at peace within myself. And it really does work. Okay.
That's why I corrected myself.
Again, I'm not saying coming as and even coming as an apple. That's not even saying the full person comes
What
out.
if somebody takes a bite out of the apple?
Maybe a spark of the person comes back into that because, for example, I'll tell you like an idea. It's kind of a deep Kabbalistic idea. Let's say I don't appreciate food. I complain about food. I don't appreciate it. I waste food, right? I'm just giving an example. I'm not saying this is the exact case. So God says, oh, you don't appreciate food? I'm going to make you come back as an apple so you appreciate, meaning you appreciate it. And then once you see someone appreciate it by making a blessing or whatever it is, or, and using that energy to do good, then that person did his tikkun, meaning what? He got his correction of what he needed to do.
So because he didn't want
but
to
not
eat
eternally, not this, and
he turned to an apple.
Again, we're not God, and I'm not saying who's what and whatever. I'm just saying, it's kind of like what the idea of karma, to teach the person, okay, this is what you need to.
So an enlightened person can actually know what another person who's not enlightened will be reborn as. So like if they're going to go into the higher realms or the lower realms, or if they're going to go into a state of deep suffering, or if they're going to go into a state of deep peacefulness, they can actually see that because their awareness, their mind is so clear, so completely clear and aware that they can see that in the other person.
You didn't appreciate this, you didn't appreciate that, you know what I'm saying? But not to say that everyone turns the apple. No, I'm not saying that. That's ridiculous. I'm just saying the idea.
So you don't think you'll be an apple?
If you do what you're supposed to
No,
be
you.
doing.
I'm saying, do you think
No,
you'll be an
most
apple?
people come back, 99% of people come back as human beings like us. We've been in this world before.
But most likely no apple.
Again, if the person is like, I don't know.
Do you think you're going to be an apple?
No, I don't think I'm going to be an apple.
Oh, what about Elena? Why do monks shave their head?
There's a lot of
What does that mean, shove their
controversy.
head?
There's a lot of controversy around this.
Oh, shave their head.
Yeah.
Shove their head.
What do you mean? Like,
Okay, whatever.
like smashing my head on the table?
Yeah, that's what you said. Shove.
There's a lot of interest in this question, and it mainly relates to, it's kind of a sign, primarily it's a sign of a culture, of a tradition, of a community that you probably, that a lot of people don't have experience with. And in some ways, it's an invitation. Like, why do I wear these robes? I didn't put on these robes to come here and like perform. These are my clothes. My life is
Yeah,
a
you
monk.
don't even have. I know they probably can't see it on camera, but you don't even have any shoes on. You're barefoot.
Yeah.
Do you think what? I don't really care. It's up to you. But do you think that might make you a little dirty or no?
Well, no, I thought about this recently because let's think about McDonald's, right? I mean, I don't recommend that people go to McDonald's, but a lot of people do.
Okay.
They quick meal or something, right? So if you go into McDonald's with your shoes on, or even a Best Buy with your shoes on,
Best
your
Buy.
shoes are covered in dirt and you never wash the bottom of your shoes. Whereas I wash my feet regularly. So in
Yeah, but
that
people are
sense,
not putting their foot on the bottom of the shoe. They're putting it inside of the shoe, and that
no, but
usually
what,
wouldn't
what
have
I'm
dirt
saying
on it.
is that the human feet are generally more clean than like the floor of a Best Buy or the floor of a
I see what you're
McDonald's.
saying.
Yeah. I do just want to say that, I've been laughing for some of the times here, and not laughing at Judaism or you or anything. I just, I find Matan is very funny, and
Oh, you're laughing at him?
no, I'm saying I'm laughing with you.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
laughing at me.
So the 5 basic, let's call them rules for a Buddhist. No killing, that includes bugs. No stealing, that includes like just taking what's not offered, even like snooping, right? Taking someone's information that they're not sharing with you. No killing, no stealing, um, no lying, no speaking harshly, no sexual misconduct, which just means being very careful and mindful about your sexual energy and what you do with that. Number 5, no drugs or intoxicants. That means no alcohol, and that means no smoking weed. These are the 5 Buddhist practices. They're not really rules. You can say them in like a negative sense, which is like restrictions, but you can also say them in a positive sense, like respecting all life, respecting the properties of others, wholesome speech or kind speech, wholesome sexuality, careful sexuality, and then protecting the peacefulness or the clarity of the mind, right? The cleanness of the mind. And so if you want to be a Buddhist, if you want to approach it in this way, those are the 5 guidelines, 5 principles to come back to. Okay, and then what those stem from is generosity. This is the flower of Buddhism, generosity and the 5 precepts. And it's very helpful, it's very powerful if you like prioritize that, because a lot of people prioritize getting money or being cool or having relationships, etc. And so their life is defined by that. But if you prioritize generosity, if you prioritize being a good person, being a careful person in the mind, it changes the quality of your life, and it changes the kind of people that you'll be around, the kind of environments that you'll be in. So it's really powerful and useful. Let's continue with the Matan podcast. No, with you. Just a few more minutes on this. For your expression of comedy, for your expression of
Okay.
like how you do things, I see a lot of joy in it, and I also see like a sense of harmlessness in it. Like there's not much intention to harm in it, and that kind of comedy, improv, and spontaneity. I mean, that really inspires me, and it's like an expression of joy. Sometimes people hear laughter, they hear spontaneous laughter, or whatever, and they think, "Oh, you're laughing at me." But that's not what laughter is supposed to be about. Laughter is supposed to be about happiness and joy and relief. So try to laugh in that way. And if you ever notice yourself laughing like at someone or at someone else's suffering, stop.
Would that be allowed in Buddhism or no?
If you go this way or that way, you will still have to confront this. And I am the one that stands at the precipice of this. So are you ready to confront me?
Also, if I go puff on somebody, I might have to fight you.
No, confront
What
is
if
not...
what if I start training boxing? Then maybe I might be ready to fight you.
Well, that could be for the what is that? The creator clash, right? With the iDubbbz. But I'm not talking about iDubbbz or creator clash, and I'm not talking about confrontation in terms of violence. It's more like an embrace. right? So we're always thinking about debating or having the right point or like being ahead of someone. Why don't we think about cooperating with one another to create better systems for being happier in our lives and
Yeah.
helping other people? You know, that's what I'm about. That's what I believe in.
Well, let me ask another question. If you guys, a little bit related to the last question, one of the last things I said, do you think that the UFC is moral? Do you know what the UFC is?
Yeah.
It's
The fight, yeah,
when they're fighting each other.
Professional fighting.
Sometimes they'll take two like 9-year-old girls against like a 40-year-old man. That's not UFC. That's a different form of MMA. But like 9-year-old girls versus one bodybuilder, who will win? Like, do you think that's moral or no?
I mean, listen, I'm not so into UFC, but if they're making
No, UFC doesn't do that. In other countries, they'll do ones where they do like two 9-year-old girls versus like.
yeah, obviously it's immoral.
Oh no, but they all agree to
God
it.
said.
So this, I do
but they
want to
all
say
said
something
okay to
here.
it.
If God says hitting another person is bad,
UFC
and you're
is
not
not.
doing it for a constructive purpose, like for example, if I'm giving you surgery, even though I'm cutting you, I'm doing it for constructive.
So you don't
purpose.
think? But maybe they're getting better at fighting, or they're making money.
Again, if they're harming another person and their thing, why? We're a bunch of animals. We hit each other, or we're
So you don't-
We're,
so for-
we're human beings in the image of God, and God wants us to take care of our bodies. God doesn't want you to, like all these boxers, they get so many times punched in the head.
So forget
They
two
can't
9-year-old
serve-
girls
They can't
fighting.
even. They
You
can't
don't-
even serve. They can't even serve God anymore because their brains are not there. That's what God wants.
So you're saying? Well, let me ask.
Well, I'm not telling people what to do, but I'm just saying from a morality perspective.
You're saying no good.
I mean, if you have a mission in this world, and now person punched you in the
What
head,
if
and now you can't do your mission anymore.
What if
That's good.
Can I give you an example?
What?
What if I punch you in the head and it finally wakes him up? Not like physically wakes him up from sleeping.
Yeah.
I punch him in the head and it wakes him up and he starts doing work and stops doing stuff like that.
Listen, like I told you before, I'm not saying this situation. If you're doing it to help somebody else, like you're a surgeon, you're giving surgery, or
But-
you're doing this.
but-
Let's say someone's passed out on the ground, you smack him in the face to wake him up, to get him to, whatever. Or you're pumping someone's heart because they have a heart attack or stroke. That's good, but you're hurting the person. No, but you're trying to save his life. So that's what I'm talking about.
What if it's like 50-50, like 50% I'm gonna wake him up with a slap, but then 50% I'm gonna have fun doing it. So instead of a slap, I'm gonna go boom.
So obviously it's not.
But it's
you're
50%.
So you're 50% off.
But I mean, it's still
You'll
help.
be 50% held accountable.
So what? Am I gonna be half of an apple? Shit.
Well, look, I do want to take a chance to address one of these questions here.
Oh, you read one of them.
Well, I read quite a few of them,
Oh.
but one question is, what is childism? So
No, that was not
childism.
written on there.
No, I'm saying a question that I thought about while
Oh,
I
you
was
thought
looking at
about
these.
that?
Yeah.
You came up with that.
What is childism? And so
Okay.
childism is like a premise that the rights of children are just as important as the rights of adults. So like for them to participate, for them to be
Oh, in like
protected.
UFC events.
So that's precisely about it, right? So that there's like in a system that discriminates against children, like has prejudice against children. So they see someone who's under 18 or they see a young person and they say, oh, their mind is like this, or they're like that, or they're inherently less intelligent or have less of an ability to be in the world and make decisions about their life than an adult does in general. And so you might want to look into that. It's similar to like racism or sexism, like a systematic discrimination against children as a target group.
And are you a racist?
I would say that I'm mostly,
little bit.
no. I would say I'm vividly anti-racist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, vividly anti-racist. Because when I see like a person of color, I see that they probably have a different experience than me, depending on the context of
What
the
if-
situation.
okay.
But that they're a human being and their rights are important and how they express themselves is valid.
Are you
just
racist?
like for a young person.
Jews come in all types and forms. You have African American Jews, you have Chinese
Not often.
Jews. Not often, but there are. And if a human being is doing what he's supposed to be doing, and of course he's a moral person, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. You have to love everybody. Everyone's made in the image of God. We all have a mission. Doesn't matter Jew or non-Jew. You have a mission in this world. You have a purpose in this world.
You could try. I don't recommend that.
So am I racist? Absolutely not. Racism is totally against Judaism, totally against God to be racist.
Oh, the peppers.
But you know what I'm against?
What are you against?
Evil.
Evil.
people doing when they're not supposed
Can
to
you
be
tell
doing.
somebody's evil by how they look?
People, no.
Do you think he's evil by how he looks?
He's a good guy.
For sure.
Yeah, this guy's a good guy. But what I'm saying is that if someone is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you love that, oh, this guy's cheating people in business, he's scamming people all day, and it doesn't matter how you look, whatever you're doing, it's wrong. And
I have a really good question. I have a good question.
That action.
I have a good question.
But obviously,
I have a good question.
And
not to interrupt you, I need to ask this
go,
question.
go.
Okay, I don't know how to word this. Let's say you saw a guy outside. He comes into the building right now. He has to shoot a podcast with us. He has a really long neck. He's a white guy. He's a couple of tattoos. Would you think he's evil or moral?
Why would I think he's evil?
His name's Longneck. You're gonna meet him right now. We have to do a podcast with him. So when you see him, are you gonna say he's evil or moral? He's outside. He's waiting outside.
I don't know.
You gonna meet him? You wanna meet him right now?
You can't see someone and determine. You're not God. You're not a prophet.
Well, you need to determine it with him right now, because I'm sick of this guy. He's been waiting in the parking lot for weeks.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank
We're
you
gonna
so
end it
much.
here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was gonna say that for anyone who wants more information, please check out The Indisputable Truth, Compelling Evidence for the Existence of
Self-promo
God,
from a rabbi.
Divinity of Torah, Purpose of Life.
Rabbi is doing self-promo.
I
Come
don't
on.
make any money off this book. I'm giving it for people who want to know more about Judaism.
That can get a free copy.
100%. If you email, go on my website, indisputabletruth.com, INDISTUBAL.
You first got the spelling of your own
I
book.
know, I forgot, yeah. I'm just kidding.
So why would they buy that book? You can't even spell.
INDISPUTABLE, truth. TRUSH.com, indisputabletruth.com.
Right.
No space. And you could get a free copy of the PDF. And
Also, they can read it for free.
And if you want to know more topics about how do you know God exists, how do you know Christianity or Islam is from God, how do you know Judaism is from God, purpose of life, secrets of happiness and success, Messiah, life after death.
What if it's somebody who doesn't know, somebody can't see and can't hear, so they can't read it and they can't hear an audiobook, and as a matter of fact, they're autistic and they keep just going like that. So how are they gonna read the book?
Yeah, listen.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Matan. I feel and I hope that this is the start of a friendship.
Oh, yeah.
In some kind of way.
I'm gonna become making a lot of money one day.
No, because I think that there's something special about people who have an ability to make people laugh and feel freedom in themselves. So, as I said at the beginning, I'm Bhante Warapano. I'm a Buddhist monk. I just hope you all try to do your best. Be good, don't be bad, and go forward.
My name is Aaron.
Okay, everybody. We're certainly not going to be listening to the Joe Rogan Experience. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the donation. Many blessings, many happiness, and generosity. Giving and receiving. So that is... this wonderful podcast that I did with Matan Evan. And for people who don't know, he's kind of like a youth influencer, we could say. A lot of young people follow him for his comedic work and his interviews with different people. And I was blessed to be on there. I am Bhante Warapano. We're in Bodh Gaya, India, at the Tabarwa Center here. The monastery is still under construction. And I wish all of you a lot of happiness and peacefulness in your life. I hope that you won't worry too much. And we'll end here. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you, everyone.